الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سهلا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم بارك لنا في جمعنا هذا، اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مباركا مرحوما، واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما، ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا، وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان، واجعلنا من عبادك الراشدين. اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أسرفنا وما أنت أعلم به منا. اللهم لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. اللهم لا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. اللهم لا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به، واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا. أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. Oh Allah, we ask you to fill our hearts with your abundant mercy and to fill our homes with your abundant mercy. Oh Allah, fill our hearts with the love of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Oh Allah, bless us with his love and bless us to follow in his footsteps and to follow his sunnah and apply his sunnah in our lives. Oh Allah, gather us with him in your shade the day that there's no shade but yours. Oh Allah, bless us to drink from his palms, a drink that will never feel thirst thereafter. Oh Allah, we ask you to help us navigate through every trial and difficulty in life. Oh Allah, bring ease to our affairs. Oh Allah, bring ease to our affairs. Oh Allah, bring ease to our affairs. Oh Allah, make the best of our days the last of our days, the best of our actions the last of our actions, and the best of all days the day we meet you and you are pleased with us. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Amma ba'd. Before we begin tonight's talk, I just want to share with you two important announcements. The first one is that next Friday we are going to have in our masjids, last Jumu'ah in the year, and because many people will be off of school and off of work, we're going to be having two Jumu'ahs in the masjid. The first one is going to be at 12:15 and the second one is at 1:15. And I ask you all to try to come to the first Jumu'ah if you can, so that we may have more space in the masjid for the second Jumu'ah insha'Allah ta'ala. Second announcement is next Friday the community hub is cancelled. There's no talk next week, and tonight we'll have a talk, and next time we have a community hub it'll be next year in 2020 insha'Allah ta'ala. The request is, and this is a request before, so those were the two announcements. Now I have one request. The request is to remember that we're in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, and we're in a gathering in which the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are going to be mentioned. So I ask that we try our best to maintain the serenity of the masjid and to maintain a level of adab with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because as our scholars teach us, the revering the Prophet ﷺ after his passing is just as revering him when he was alive. It's part of the adab with the Prophet ﷺ that when you hear his words being said, that you listen carefully, attentively, so that you may gain some of the mercy of the wahi and revelation that he brought, and that you be peaceful and calm in that type of gathering. And we mentioned this many times before, that our scholars would treat the majalis of hadith and the majalis of the Quran in special regard, different than they would treat any other majlis of Q&A, of fiqh, of lugha, nahu, whatever it is. All of that would be treated differently than the majlis of hadith and the majlis of Quran. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who have taqwa, and of those who have a strong sense of reverence to his sha'air and the symbols of the deen. ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. When the individual observes the reverence of the house of Allah, of the symbols of Allah, this is a sign that there's taqwa in the heart. Right. So this is the request. Oh, and so based on this, the request is, if we have young children who will speak and who will run around, please send them downstairs. We have babysitting downstairs. We have a lot of space downstairs. So رجاءً ما حد يخلي أولاد صغار معاه في المصلى. if they're not going to be calm, please don't leave them in the musalla. If they'll listen, alhamdulillah, marhaban bihim, jazakumullahu khairan. So before I actually begin explaining the hadith, I felt that it's important and significant to share with you something that other people, other Muslims in the US, in other communities, are feeling based on the passing of one of the sisters in another state. And the reason why I felt it important is because of the impact of this person on the lives of those around them. And it actually strongly relates to the hadith that we're going to discuss. This sister, her name is Umar Iman Jassim, and some of the scholars who are known at a national level, like Shaykh Yasser Birjas and Shaykh Umar Sliman, mentioned the very, very inspirational way that this sister left this dunya. And I shared a little bit of information 2 days ago about it in the masjid. And that was that this sister, she passed away. And the night before she passed away, she shared a post on social media in which she said that I learned today that the deceased benefits not only from the prayer of his friends and family, but from the prayers of every single Muslim. So she said in the very end of it, Allahumma la tahrimna min du'a'i ikhwanina. Oh Allah, don't deny us of the prayers of our brothers and sisters. Ameen. And at the time she wrote that, she probably didn't know that her passing is going to be the next morning. And our scholars say something that's very beautiful. They say, this is a statement of one of the scholars. It's not a statement of the Prophet ﷺ. They say that man asha ala shay'in mata alayh. Whoever lives for a certain cause or lives doing certain deeds will pass away upon those deeds. And this is al-ghalib. This is not categorical. Sometimes a person might lead an outwardly pleasant life but have an awful ending, or vice versa, as the hadith teaches us. But they say fil ghalib, man asha ala shay'in mata alayh. If someone sincerely lives upon certain values and certain morals and certain character, Allah will bless this person to exit this dunya upon those characters and upon those values and morals. And this sister in her community was known as al-Aitam. She dedicated her whole life to serving orphans and helping the needy. And in fact, Allah willed that the last act she had in this dunya was to promote a fundraiser for our brothers and sisters in Syria to help them in the bitter cold of winter. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed that she exit this dunya, and so many inspired by her that the campaign has raised over $100,000 for that cause. And she did not know that this is what will become of her end, but Allah knew. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors those He loves. So we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that He has mercy upon her and that He blesses us with the same end in our lives, a same pleasant end in our lives, leaving on a positive note of inspiration and impact upon others. Now, getting to the hadith of today. The hadith of today is one about our impact upon our fellow Muslims. It's about ukhuwatul Islam wa huququl Muslim. And it relates to what we discussed earlier today in the khutbah, when we spoke about being a principled person, and how our problem today is either not knowing the principles of our deen or thinking it's okay under certain circumstances to sacrifice those principles. And this is a very big struggle that we face as an ummah today. And our job, our responsibility first and foremost, is to become acquainted with those principles. And that's the whole idea and the whole inspiration behind this series that we have. Prophetic Foundations, going to the ahadith min jawami'ul kalim, learning what the second source of revelation, the sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ says, is the foundations of our deen. So this idea of being a principled person requires that I am actually familiar with Islam's foundations and its principles and its guidelines and its values and its morals, so I can act accordingly. So this hadith is going to tell us the principles of dealing with one another. Now, this hadith calls to assess our impact upon those around us. And when we think about brotherhood, we think about the challenge of not having good companionship. I'm looking for someone that is a positive influence, someone that uplifts me. When I'm weak, he inspires me to do what's right. When I'm strong, he encourages me or she encourages me on. And when we look around us, sometimes, and this is the condition of most people, you might not find someone like that around you, or there will be few people in your life who's like that. And this is one of the big challenges. But the question that I want us to ask ourselves, when we think about brotherhood and we see that challenge, and when we say, well, there's no more brotherhood, everyone's selfish today, everyone's thinking about themselves, no one cares about the other, we really need to ask the following question. And that is, am I worthy of having a good brother, of having a good sister around me? And what the question means is that there's a lot of responsibilities that our fellow Muslims, our brothers, our sisters around us have upon us. And if I'm not a good brother, then perhaps I won't be blessed to have good brothers or good sisters around me. This hadith tells us how to truly be a good person inspiring those around you. Because when all of us leave this dunya, we're going to leave this dunya with impressions we've left upon others. All of us are going to exit this dunya with a set of impressions. Fulan, I met him one time. Fulan, I met him on a day-to-day basis. Fulan, I grew up with him. And each one of these spheres of interaction, I've left some sort of impression, some sort of impact, for better or for worse. And for some people, when they leave this dunya, the impact that they've left behind on those around them is so positive and so pleasant that the people continue to remember their goodness and continue to pray for them. And whenever they remember them, it brings a smile to their face. This is a good way to leave this life. But if you're a person who doesn't have good people around them and isn't concerned about being a source of inspiration for others, then that path is very lonely. And that person will leave this dunya and his legacy and his life will leave it along with him. His legacy, no one will remember him. No one will care to even think about the good that he's left behind, that she's left behind. So this is one thing that we should approach this hadith with this attitude. Am I worthy to have a good brother or a good sister in my life? Well, let's see what the Prophet ﷺ tells us. The hadith says as follows, and I'll say it in Arabic and then I'll slowly go over it in English inshaAllah. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم جزاكم الله خير. Yes, when you hear the Prophet ﷺ's name in this majlis, always say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when you hear a companion's name, say radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, radiyallahu anha, right? So he says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا ولا يبع بعضكم على بيع بعض وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلمه ولا يكذبه ولا يحقره التقوى ها هنا ويشير إلى صدره 3 مرات التقوى ها هنا التقوى ها هنا بحسب امرئ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه المسلم كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. This is a very beautiful hadith that has so many meanings in it. In this hadith, Abu Hurayrah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu reports that the Prophet ﷺ says, don't envy one another. Don't have hasad towards one another. Do not do najsh. Najsh is something that we're going to discuss. In English, we refer to it as outbidding. وَلَا تَبَاغَضُوا. Don't have hatred towards each other. وَلَا تَدَابَرُوا. Don't turn your backs on one another. And then he says, وَلَا يَبِعْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَيْعِ بَعْضٍ. Don't sell upon the sale of your brother. And we're going to discuss that inshallah. وَكُونُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ إِخْوَانًا. And be Allah's servants and slaves as brothers, as sisters. الْمُسْلِمُ أَخُو الْمُسْلِمِ. The Muslim is the brother of the Muslim. لَا يَظْلِمُهُ وَلَا يَكْذِبُهُ. He doesn't oppress him. He doesn't lie to him. He doesn't degrade him. وَلَا يَحْقِرُهُ. And then he says, Taqwa is here. Taqwa is here, pointing to his heart, to his chest. It is enough evil for a person to undermine his brother. Everything of the Muslim upon another Muslim is sacred, is haram, is sacred. دمه وماله وعرضه. His blood, his wealth, and his reputation. And that's the end of the hadith. It gathers so many meanings. And I'll start with saying this. The immediate thing that stands out to you from this hadith is what? About brotherhood. The Prophet ﷺ mentions a whole bunch of things. And all of these things point to what? What does it say about brotherhood? What does it say about brotherhood? It's sacred. More than it being sacred, what does brotherhood mean? Every one of these things, what does it refer to? It refers to duties, it refers to action, it refers to amal. And oftentimes when we're in the masjid, we say salam to each other, and we smile in each other's faces. And what do we say? I love you for the sake of Allah. And we say it as brothers, and we say it as sisters. But these words are very heavy. They have a big responsibility behind them. The Prophet ﷺ in this hadith is teaching us something important. True brotherhood isn't about shi'arat farigha. It's not about empty slogans. No. It's about the content of your character and your amal. That's what true brotherhood is. True brotherhood isn't with your tongue. True brotherhood is with your actions. And this relates to some of the things I said in the khutbah today. You know, you might find two brothers who are very pleasant with one another, or two sisters that are very pleasant with one another when they see each other at a distance in the masjid. And often, most of us here, our dealings with each other are very limited. Salam, how are you? Who are you? Where you live? Where are you from? What do you work as? Kada, kada, kada. Salam. And then until the next time you see the person, Allahu A'lam. But the only time you really know a person, and the only time you really can observe brotherhood is through dealings, is through interactions. That's where true brotherhood, true sisterhood becomes apparent. It's not about empty claims. No, not at all. And for this reason, there's a beautiful hadith, and I think many of you have heard it. I have the wording of it for you to share. But the hadith says that a man praised another in the presence of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And of course this is athar, hadith, whatever you want to call it. Some of the scholars refer to even the statements of companions as a hadith. Some of them refer to them as athar. So the point is, so he praised the man in the presence of Sayyidina Umar, and Sayyidina Umar asked him three things. The first thing, does anyone remember? What was the first thing he asked him? Huh? Have you lived with him? Were you his neighbor? All right, that's the first. هل أنت جاره الأدنى تعرف مساءه وصباحه? Are you his close neighbor that you know what he does in his morning and his night? So he said, لا, I don't. And then the second question, anyone remember what it was? Did you deal with him with the money, huh? هل عاملته في الدرهم والدينار اللذين تمتحن بهما أمانات الناس? Did you deal with him with dirham and dinar? What's dirham and dinar? Gold coins, silver coins. Dirham is silver coin, dinar is a gold coin. For us it's what? Dollars, right? So بالدرهم والدينار, and then he says something very important. اللذين تمتحن بهما أمانات الناس. These are the two things, dirham and dinar. Or for us, dollars. That's where you know the true content of character and the true amount of trust that a person has. And this is exactly what we're talking about in the khutbah today, about fitnatul mal. About fitnatul mal. This is what we spoke about in the masjid here. So he says, did you deal with dirham and dinar to see if he's a really trustworthy person? The man said, no. What was the third question he asked? Yes, travel. هل رافقته في السفر الذي ينكشف فيه أخلاق الناس؟ السفر يسفر عن أخلاق الرجال. What did he ask him? He said, did you travel with him? And travel is something that exposes the true akhlaq of people, the character of people. They say, safar, this is a hadith actually, safar yusfiru an akhlaq al-rijal, that travel exposes the character of people, the character of men and of course women. So he said no. So then Sayyidina Umar said to him, فَلَسْتَ تَعْرِفُهُ, you don't know him. And in some narrations it says, لَعَلَّكَ رَأَيْتَهُ يَرْكَعُ رَكَعَاتٍ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ, perhaps you saw him pray some salah in the masjid and you thought automatically that he was a good person. Now of course, when someone is consistently coming to the masjid, it's a good sign. And it's a sign of faith and iman. But truly, a bigger sign of iman is mu'amala. A bigger sign of taqwa, of true taqwa from Allah Azza wa Jal is what? Is dealings, is mu'amala. And you know what? That's the profound thing about this hadith. In the middle of the hadith, out of all of the characteristics the Prophet ﷺ could have mentioned, he could have mentioned tawakkul, he could have mentioned yaqeen, he could have mentioned hilm, sabr, he could have mentioned patience, certainty, trust in Allah. He mentioned what? What was it? In the middle of the hadith, what did he say? At-taqwa ha-huna. He mentioned taqwa. He mentioned God consciousness. Because true taqwa isn't in the beauty of your tilawah, isn't in the amount of times you recite Quran, or isn't in the amount of days you fast. But true taqwa is in your suluk and amal. This is something we mentioned in the khutbah. What do we say? Surah Al-Talaq. Who was here for the khutbah? Who was here? A few people? All right. The Surah Al-Talaq mentions taqwa. How many times? 5 times. Exactly. 5 times. 2 pages. 5 times. A central characteristic for someone who's going to be able to get through talaq and divorce in a way that pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. You need a lot of taqwa. If you don't have it, you're going to fail. You're going to fail in dealing with divorce in a way that pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is the first thing that we learn from this hadith. That amal and suluk is what truly exposes the content of character. Amal and suluk truly defines what brotherhood and sisterhood should be about. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ teaches us when he describes partnerships in business. Partnership in business, if you've been a partner with someone in business and you've known them to be a good person, you know them very well. Because as they say, الشَّرِكَةُ تُبْرِزُ مَعَادِنَ الرِّجَالِ. If you want to know the true content of character, deal in business with someone and you'll know who he really is. Right? And that's something that we cannot emphasize enough. عافانا الله وإياكم من النفاق ومن الشقاق ومن سوء الأخلاق اللهم آمين. So this hadith gives us a bunch of fawaid. The first thing the hadith talks about is the way we view others, and it prohibits doing a set of things. The first thing it prohibits, لا تحاسدوا. Don't envy with one another. And this description, this disease of envy is something that we've discussed in a khutbah recently and in khawatir recently. But just to emphasize, this is one of the critical diseases of the heart that stems from the individual not seeing who the true sahib al-ni'mah is. The bestower of the blessing, who he really is. Is this blessing that ظهرت على يد فلان أو على يد فلان هل هو صاحبها أم ربه صاحبها? Who is the owner of this blessing? Is it individuals or is it Allah? When you realize that this blessing is coming from Allah, and when it's showing Allah's greatness, not this person's greatness, Allah's greatness. Because هو الذي أقدره على هذا هو الذي أقدرها على هذا. He is the one who has enabled her or him to do this. When you see that clearly, then the disease of envy will leave the heart. Now envy, there's not enough time for us to go in detail about the dangers of envy and the causes of envy. But just to mention briefly, the Prophet ﷺ says that this disease is so scary, it's ruined nations. دَبَّ فِيكُمْ دَاءُ الْأُمَمِ. This is one of the diseases of nations, envying one another. And envy, as we said, is coming from a shallow outlook on the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal upon others. And envy has a few different causes. I'll mention a few of them for you. The first one is coming from a place of arrogance. Envy and arrogance go hand in hand. What is the ayah that relates to this? When the disbelievers saw those who followed the prophets, what did they say? They said, أَهَؤُلَاءِ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا. Are these the ones who Allah has bestowed His favor upon? Right? So they actually said this about the Prophet ﷺ. The ayah says, أَمْ يَحْسُدُونَ النَّاسَ عَلَى مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Do they envy those for what Allah has given them from His favor? What is this talking about? This is talking about those who envied the Prophet ﷺ for him being a prophet. حَسَدُ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم وَالصَّحَابَةِ عَلَى مَا أُوتُوا مِنْ إِيمَانٍ. Because they thought that prophethood should be from them, because they were from the children of the prophets, Bani Israel, speaking about them. They say this in the tafsir of the ayah. So this is one cause of envy. It is arrogance. Another cause of envy is enmity, is adawa. As the ayah says, وَوَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرُونَ كَمَا كَفَرُوا فَتَكُونُونَ سَوَاءً. Some people, they just have this very bitter outlook on life, this dark, gloomy outlook on life. They wanted the disbelievers to fall into disbelief. They wanted the believers to fall into disbelief, just that they could be, so they could be the same, right? Some people, if they're very sinful in their lives, and they see someone making the right decisions and doing what's right, they want that person to be just as bad as them. And they might actually lead them on to engaging in some kaba'ir and some major sins, so that what? They don't feel bad and deficient about who they are, right? They want everyone to be at the same level of them. So this is enmity. And this also relates to the third one. It's sometimes coming from khubthun nafs. It's the wretchedness of the soul. Not liking to see good things happen to people is another cause of envy. Fourth cause of envy is being power hungry. Hubbur ri'asa is I don't want anyone to be above me. They have to be at my level, because if they're ahead of me, then I'm going to lose part of my power. I'm going to lose part of my position. Right? So hubbur ri'asa, being power hungry is another cause of envy. And the last one is objecting to Allah's decree, is another cause of envy. Because al-hasad, one of the reasons why hasad is such a dangerous disease is because it means that the individual is غَيْرُ رَاضٍ فِي قِسْمَةِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى لِلْأَرْزَاقِ. This individual is displeased with the way Allah chose to divide provisions and blessings among His servants. So this is the fifth reason why people envy one another. And you know what? In the book, and if any of you know Arabic, this is the sharh of the 40 Nawawis that I'm mostly depending on. It's a very well-known sharh. It's called Al-Wafi fi Sharh Al-Arba'in. There's other shuruh of it. There's other explanations of the 40 Nawawi Hadiths. This hadith is in the 40 Nawawis. And there's an English one. It's a commentary on the 40 Nawawi Hadiths by Dr. Jamaluddin Zarabozo. It's very detailed and lengthy. So in this book he mentions that there are different types of, there are different categories of people when it relates to envy. The first category, and this is the worst, this person, he envies and he actually follows up his envy of others and his hasad of others with amal. He actually actively tries to ruin a person, either through his actions or his speech. ruining that person's reputation. This all goes back to the hadith. No, this is all about the hadith. This is about the principles of our relationships with each other 101. I mentioned this in the khutbah today. There are too many situations that we have in our community and in every community. It's the same thing. That an individual, he gets into a heated dispute with another person. And because of this, he starts saying things like, I'm going to ruin this person. I'm going to end this person's marriage. I'm going to spread rumors about this person. I'm going to make sure that everyone knows about this sister, that she's like this, and she talks to these types of people, and she goes out with guys, and she kada and kada and kada. Too many situations like this, and all of this is coming from a very diseased heart, a very toxic heart that doesn't understand the principles of Islam. So this hadith, this this is the first type of people in relation to envy. They actually act upon their envy, and they actively try to ruin the person. The second type that he says is a category of individuals who envy others, but they do it because they can't help it. They do it out of weakness. They don't follow it up with action. They can't help it because they're a person who's going through a lot of difficulties in their life. And when they see other people getting to go on vacations, getting to buy a new car, getting to do nice things, they see this, they can't help it. They can't help themselves but envy this person and wish that that person didn't enjoy what he's enjoying, what she's enjoying. And this is why our deen teaches us to be careful of the way you speak of your blessings. What did Sayyidina Yaqub say to his son Yusuf alayhi salam? Ya bunay, who knows the ayah? Who knows the ayah? Ya bunayya, la taqsus ru'yaka ala ikhwatika fayakidu laka kayda inna shaytan al-insani aduwwun mubin. This is the principle of our deen. Beware of the way you speak of your blessings. You go announcing it on Facebook and on Instagram and on social media. You don't think that there's someone out there who's going through all kinds of difficulties in their life, that they cannot enjoy what you're enjoying. Be careful of the way you speak of your blessings. The third category of individuals are people who have envy in their heart, but they regret that they have it. They're sad that they have it. That whenever an envious thought comes to their mind, they seek refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal from it. And this category of people, they're not sinful. They're not going to be held accountable for what they do. Their requirement is whenever they feel envy coming in their heart towards fulan or illan, that they pray for that person, that they mention the virtues of that person, that they pray that Allah continues to keep that blessing for them. And this is a little bit about hasad. And there's a lot in this hadith. Can we save the questions to the end? So, la tahasadu. I'm not going to take this long on every word, but this was an important subject, so I'm going to go on to the next one. The next one is wala tanajashu. Who knows what najish is? Anyone knows what it is? Huh? Anyone know what it is? What is najish? No one? You know it? تفضل. لا. لا. Najish, we call it in English outbidding. And this is a corrupt business practice. And what is it? It is when an individual goes to an auction and he has an item that he's going to sell. And this is only one example of it. And because he wants to get the highest bid on this item, what does he do? He makes sure to put a few people in the audience, right, to raise their hands and make bids on the item, so that everyone else will think that this is some good merchandise. You know, they put people in the audience, because if everyone starts seeing, oh, this person has, oh, and that person's saying 200, and that person's saying 500, and that person's saying 1,000, whoa, I should get involved. This is something I need to have. Everyone else is fighting over it. I want it for myself. And so that person ends up paying double and triple the price because he was fooled by people that the seller put in the audience to trick. Now you could say, well, it's his problem. He was a fool. He shouldn't have been so gullible or so unaware that he was tricked in such an easy way. It's not the seller's fault that the buyer was someone easy to trick. This is a capitalist attitude. This is a capitalist attitude. This is not an Islamic attitude. An Islamic attitude is like our Prophet ﷺ teaches us. Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim. In another version, it says here, Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim, right? But another version says, Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim, ولا يحل لرجل باع سلعة فيها عيب إلا بينه له إلا بينه للمشتري. That is the meaning of the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, first and foremost, your fellow Muslim is your brother. He's not your customer. He's your brother. Don't forget that. And then he says in the rest of the hadith, it's not halal for you. It's going to be haram money for you. If you know something you're selling has deficiencies and flaws, but you're choosing to conceal them. You're choosing to conceal them from the buyer. This is what we call Islamic ethics when it comes to business and trade. This is what it means to be a true brother, a true sister. Well, you might say, the Prophet ﷺ said it. He says, الحلف منفقة للسلعة ممحقة للبركة. Prophet ﷺ said, if you're a person who makes a lot of promises and takes a lot of oaths, yeah, sure, you might sell a lot of products. But you know what? Everything you're sold will be void of barakah. ممحقة للبركة. You'll get a lot of sales, but you won't have any barakah in those sales. Having barakah in your sale, this is essential. The Prophet ﷺ teaches us to deal at this level with our fellow Muslims. You know what? If our dealings started looking like this, I will tell you, the whole ummah will start changing. You know what? If I, on a personal level, started dealing with everyone in my life with this attitude and this mentality, I'll find that my life is a lot more blessed and a lot more peaceful and void of those senseless conflicts that take people's lives away. Right? So this idea and this notion that if you're an honest person, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. No. Al-amana, as I said in the khutbah, al-amanatu jalibatun lirrizq, amani'atun minha. If you're a trustworthy person, that brings you more provisions, more rizq. It doesn't deny you. So what is najish? It is haram. It is a haram business practice. Will the sale go through? This is a fiqhi thing. It depends. Now, there's one opinion that says it'll be haram for the seller to do this, but at the same time, the buyer will have the option, the khiyar, to end and rescind the sale after he realizes he's been cheated. He can rescind the sale and the whole transaction will be voided because this individual did something that was illicit against the Islamic practices in business. And there's more things in this hadith that emphasize how you should deal in business with your fellow Muslims. He says, وَلَا تَبَاغَضُوا. I'll get back to it later on, and I'll mention in the end, inshallah. وَلَا تَبَاغَضُوا. And don't have hatred towards one another. And there's much that can be said about hatred. But there's one thing that you should take away from this hadith. If you choose to live your life without harboring hatred in your heart towards any individual, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, you might get into heated debates, yes. And you might strongly disagree with people, yes. But don't allow hatred to any human being to stick in your heart. Because you know what? It's going to consume you before it hurts the person you're hating. This person who chooses to fill his heart with hate. Sometimes people have that. Their heart is loaded with hate even to those closest to them. The kid hates his mother, hates his father, right? Or the husband hates his wife. She hates her husband. When you allow yourself, sometimes you might have a justifiable reason. This person wronged me. This person oppressed me. This person deals with me in a bad way. But you know what? When you make a conscious decision for yourself, before anyone else, to remove hatred from your heart, you're choosing to allow sakina to come inside it. Because قلب مشحون بالحقد والبغضاء لا يمكن أن يجد الراحة والاطمئنان أبدا. This person that's full of hatred will never find peace. So this is وَلَا تَبَاغَضُوا. You're the first beneficiary of it before your brother, right? Before your sister. And then he says, وَلَا تَدَابَرُوا. Don't turn your backs on one another. Don't turn your backs on one another. And of course, this is referring to the issue of qati'ah. Don't cut off ties, and of course you cannot cut off your kin, and you cannot even cut off your fellow Muslims and your fellow brothers and sisters from your ties with them. Does this mean that you need to be in constant communication with everyone in your life? No, this is not what it means. But can you be a person of qati'ah, that cuts off ties? No, you should not be this. You should not be this person. In fact, in the end of the hadith, part of what's considered here in brotherhood and sisterhood is standing up for your brother and sister when their reputation is being attacked. This is the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, the scary hadith, listen to it, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ما من امرئ مسلم يخذل امرئ مسلم يخذل امرأ مسلما في موضع تنتهك فيه حرمته وينتقص من عرضه إلا خذله الله في موضع يحب نصرته. The Prophet ﷺ says in this hadith that there's not an individual, a Muslim, who abandons and betrays his fellow Muslim in a situation in which his reputation is being smeared and he is being the sacredness of his integrity is being breached. He says, تنتهك فيه حرمته وينتقص فيه عرضه إلا خذله الله. Allah will abandon this person at a time that he wishes someone will come to his refuge. So this is another benefit that we take from this hadith. وَلَا تَدَابَرُوا. And then it goes back to business and sale. It goes back to transactions. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَلَا يَبِعْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَيْعِ بَعْضٍ. And none of you should sell upon the sale of another. What do you think this means? Who knows what this part of the hadith means? You want to say it? No, this is not it. The sister, she said, and just so you guys understand, she said that what it means is if someone is selling something for a person for a certain price, say for example he's selling something for $10, that you don't come and undercut the market and sell it for 8. ما في تسعير عندنا. We don't have this idea of setting sales upon products. You'll find something that some person will sell something for 7, another person for 10, another person for 12. دع الناس يرزق بعضهم بعضا. That's another hadith. That the individual should not ask in marriage a sister who is already makhtuba. She's already engaged to another brother. There's a general agreement between both sides. And someone comes and he starts sending rajul khabith. And this happens. By the way, this is not something unheard of. It's too common. So, an individual whose heart is full of wretchedness sees a person engaged to a woman, and he goes and he tries to get the attention of that girl so that she'll leave her fiancé and come to him instead. This is an individual whose heart is full of disease. Aywa. Oh, what? What's funny? Oh, you like how I'm saying aywa? Tamam. So this is exactly what it is. So the sister got it right. So she said what it means is when say you're the seller and you tell me that you're going to sell me this item for 1,000, and I'm the buyer and I say, okay, that sounds good to me, that's fine. All right, I'm going to come tomorrow and I'm going to give you the money and we're going to sign the agreement. Tamam. And khalas, muttafiqeen. And then someone hears about me wanting to buy this from you. So he says, I'll tell you what, come to me and I will give it to you for 800. And of course, I'm the buyer. I'm looking for the maslaha. I'm going to save $200. This is great. I'm going to call the person 1 and tell him, sorry, I'm not going to buy it from you. I'm going to take it from someone else for 800. Well, you might say, well, they haven't signed the agreement yet. But when there is ittifaq, even there's an agreement between two parties, For a third person to come and interject and steal this person's business, the Prophet ﷺ saying this action is haram. This action is prohibited. دَعِ النَّاسَ يَرْزُقُ بَعْضُهُمْ بَعْضًا. Even if this individual, you sell it for cheaper, if this individual has already agreed to a sale with a person, you cannot come and say, don't buy it from him, buy it from me instead, because this is exactly what the Prophet ﷺ is prohibiting. So this is another thing. وَلَا يَبِعْ بَعْضُكُمْ عَلَى بَيْعِ بَعْضٍ. There's a lot of things that we could say when it comes to akhlaq in tijara, character in tijara. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us the following. He says, يَا مَعْشَرَ التُّجَّارِ يَا مَعْشَرَ التُّجَّارِ. He called out to them, "O businessmen." And then they said to him, فاستجابوا لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ورفعوا أعناقهم وأبصارهم فقال إن التجار يبعثون يوم القيامة فجارا إلا من اتقى الله وبر وصدق. The Prophet ﷺ said, businessmen will be resurrected among the fujjar, among those who are rebellious against Allah Azza wa Jal, except the few who are blessed to have taqwa and have benevolence, bir, and have loyalty, have sidq, right? And have honesty. Right? The Prophet ﷺ tells us that there will come a time when people will not care where their income is from. Is it from halal or is it from haram? يأتي على الناس زمان لا يبالي المرء ما أخذ منه أحلال هو أم حرام. When it comes to ethics in dealing in business, there's a few things that I'll share with you. I'll share with you 5 things, and then that's it. So the first thing is work hard and earn, but don't mix priorities. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُلْهِكُمْ أَمْوَالُكُمْ. Oh, you who believe, don't let your wealth distract you. Because it is من الملهيات. شغلتنا أموالنا وأهلنا فاستغفر لنا. Right? So this is the first thing. Work hard and earn, but don't mix your priorities. Don't make earning ahead of raising your children. Don't make earning ahead of pleasing Allah, praying your salawat, giving your responsibilities. The first thing. The second thing, don't define your existence by your career, because the Prophet ﷺ says, "Ta'isa abdud dinar," that he will be a failure and a disgrace, the one who is the slave of the dollar. Ta'isa abdud dinar. Don't define yourself by your career. The third thing is, don't overreach in increasing your profits. And this is what relates to لا يبيع بعضكم على بيع بعض. لماذا هو منهي عنه? Because this is from the consumption of the wealth of others wrongfully. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Well, you could say, well, this is tijara, this is being a smart businessman, right? If I'm a smart businessman and I have an opportunity to defeat my opponent and put him out of business, I'm going to do it. Right? Because that's part of being a... No. This is capitalist attitude. This is not Islamic attitude. The Islamic attitude is, I am going to have sidq and amana, and I'm going to maintain my values, even if in the end of the year I'm going to walk away with 50,000 instead of 100. I'm going to keep my mal and my wealth halal, because that's what's going to give me more barakah and more blessings. Right? So this is the third thing. Don't overreach in the name of increasing your profits. The fourth thing, know for certain, trustworthiness brings blessings even if the income is less. And the Prophet ﷺ says to a man, this man, he had some grains. And these grains, he had them in a pile. And at the bottom of the pile, the grains were all wet and soggy. And at the top, they were nice. They looked good, right? Anyone who has a supermarket, you have a market, if you're putting all of the bad stuff at the bottom and the good stuff at the top, fear Allah. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he says, مَا هَذَا يَا صَاحِبَ الطَّعَامِ. What is this? Oh, owner of this food. مَا هَذَا يَا صَاحِبَ الطَّعَامِ أَفَلَا جَعَلْتَهُ فَوْقَ الطَّعَامِ كَيْ يَرَاهُ النَّاسِ مَنْ غَشَّ فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا. Why didn't you make this on the top so people can know what they're buying? A brother asked me a question. Well, I deal in used cars, and if I start telling to people, this car has this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, who's going to buy the car? Clear your conscience. If someone is coming to buy a used car, he knows he's not buying a $20,000 car or $30,000 car. Clear your conscience. If you're going to sell the car for $2,000 or $3,000, make sure the person who's buying knows what he's buying. And then after that, رزقك على الله عز وجل ليس من فلان ولا علان. Your rizq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the last thing I'll share with you is be a businessman with integrity, not a businessman who's looking to gain capital. This applies to everyone, by the way. If you're an owner of a business, or if you just work, or you buy and sell things, or whatever you do. The Prophet ﷺ, he teaches us to have this attitude. An individual the Prophet ﷺ said to an individual who sold an item, he said, "Man aqala musliman, aqala Allahu athratahu." Oh, you're the seller, and you have everything in your hand. And if you want, you can keep the sale as it is. And if you don't want to rescind it and make it void because you have a regretful buyer, someone, he purchased something and you realized he doesn't need it. So he comes and asks you, please, give me my money back and take your merchandise. I didn't damage it at all, but I realized that I don't really need this and I spent this money by accident. I should have done that. I shouldn't have done that. You can either have the capitalist attitude and say, it's your problem. You already gave the money. No refunds. Leave, go. This is my money now. Or you can have the Islamic attitude and say, "Man aqala musliman aqala Allahu athratahu." If you overlook this mistake of the regretful buyer, then make sure to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will overlook your mistakes. So this hadith, it teaches us so many things about dealing with each other. And then he says in the rest of the hadith, وَكُونُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ إِخْوَانًا الْمُسْلِمُ أَخُو الْمُسْلِمُ. You guys are brothers and sisters. You don't oppress each other. لا يظلمه. This is منافٍ للأخوة تماما. ولا يكذبه. He doesn't say lies to him or her. Right? This is what causes problems in the lives of individuals. When an individual chooses to lie in his dealings with each other, lie to his parents, lie to his relatives, lie to his business partner, lie to كذا, لا يظلمه ولا يكذبه ولا يحقره. And he doesn't undermine him. Make sure you revere everyone, whether they're young children, or they're old. ولا يحقره. لا تحقر عبدا مؤمنا. Don't undermine anyone, however insignificant you think they are. When you deal with people in such an impeccable way, in such a refined way, they love you. Why do you think they love the Prophet ﷺ? Why do you think they all collectively love the Prophet ﷺ? صغارا وكبارا رجالا ونساء. They all love the Prophet ﷺ. Because when he dealt with Fulan, he didn't deal, this is an important person. He's a doctor, he's a donor, or he's a Shaykh, or he's a kada. I need to respect him. And then when he deals with Fulan, this guy, he's a nobody. Who cares about him? He's a, شخص لا يؤبه له. This is a disease that we have in our community. We need to think about this. I'm serious. Brothers and sisters, إذا طبقنا هذا الحديث, if we apply this hadith of our dearly beloved Prophet ﷺ, certainly our community, every community is going to change. It's going to change for the better. Because you see this all the time. And many people complain about it, the double standards. When someone who's a nobody comes to the masjid, people, they leave that person alone. Who's this person? They look at him with skeptical looks. What is he coming to do? They question the intention. They don't give this person attention. They don't give him the significance that they would give to the imam, mathalan, or to someone who is wealthy, or someone who is reputable and powerful, or in a position of authority. La Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yu'allimuna توقير الكبار والرحمة بالصغار, and giving them ihtimam and inaya, having mercy with the young and having reverence for the old, and dealing with all in an impeccable way. There's no way that if you apply this to your dealings, to everyone in your life, that people with any sense of sensibility and conscience, someone with a clear heart, there's no way that they'll hate you. Unless there's some disease in their heart or they're an unreasonable person. How would they hate you? Right? So then this is the rest of the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he goes, بِحَسْبِ امْرِئٍ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه المسلم. كل المسلم على المسلم حرام. The default is everything about your fellow Muslim to you is sacred. Make sure you don't take it without any clear right, without any clear reason. This is the default. It is haram. It's not accessible to you. You should not take it unless there's clear reason and there's clear justification. This hadith has so many lessons. And if we wanted to spend hours in explaining it, we could do so. I said I was going to finish at 9 and it's 9:15. Did anyone sleep yet? Raise your hand if you're sleeping. No, I'm just kidding. You're sleeping? Samihna. Okay, so inshallah, that's the end of the hadith. And just to wrap it up, I'll read it to you one more time, as I try to always do in our majlis. The hadith says, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا ولا يبع بعضكم على بيع بعض وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا. المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلمه ولا يكذبه ولا يحقره. التقوى هاهنا. ويشير إلى صدره 3 مرات. بحسب امرئ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه المسلم. كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. ورزقنا الله تعالى اقتفاء أثره واتباع سنته. اللهم آمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.